What's going on, guys? Trying to be positive here on this Friday as we've finally unraveled, and we're going to let the people see the person in the middle of that screen there. That is Nolan Johnson. He's the guy that was behind the lion mask last week. He's been the guy behind the mic. We're coming in here on year 2 of MindStrong as a company, I suppose.
This is a big moment.
And so as we head into year 2, we finally decided, as seasons change, the one constant that we know of in human existence is change. And we're walking out of winter here. We're going to change some things up. We're going to show Nolan.
It's almost like a little delayed Groundhog's Day for us here. Nolan popping his head on out. Yeah. Puxatony Nolan.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. So if you guys want to try to put the blinders on in the middle somehow and look peripherally and enjoy the show, you can. Best of luck to you. Nolan, we got to start the clock, too. You started on the 5 minutes.
Great to have you, bud. Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah. Big day for you. All right, here we go.
Okay, first question. What is the most valuable attribute for an athlete to have?
Most valuable attribute for an athlete to have? Oh, man. I'm drawing a blank right now, but I think it's because I'm trying too hard to think about this answer.
My first thought is their body. But I think my second thought would be mindset.
Yeah.
And I say that with a question mark.
Yeah. No, I noticed that. So let me ask. Maybe we'll get some feedback from this. But I was asked this question by this guy over here a couple weeks ago. Do you think that you could get anybody to throw 90 miles an hour if they started with you or a coach or a routine or a system at the age of like 5? By the time they're 18, could every single athlete throw 90?
I just have to say no.
Because of history? Mm-hmm. But what if you think outside the box of you could say yes?
I could say yes.
Right.
That's one of the options. I went with the no option.
You could say yes.
I love the thought. I did actually think about it, but there's been people who have done stuff like that. Like, what was that, the Marinovich project, where that guy was like groomed to be a quarterback?
But he was really good.
He was really good, but he wasn't sustainable. So you're talking about just the sheer throwing.
Could you, yeah. And we're not saying that you make it to the big leagues. We're not saying you make it to the NFL. And that guy did make it to the NFL. Mm-hmm. So we're not saying that you make it that far, but we're saying that you get the actual skill attribute. Like, Could you take any human being and run under a 4-minute mile with them by the time they're 18?
Not me.
But
you could never get me to run under a 4-minute mile.
But if you were 5 years old and you went with the best what we know exists, the best system, could every human run under a 4-minute mile by the time they're 18 or so if they train for it?
Numbers say no. I'm taking
Numbers say no, or history says no.
Numbers say no. So if it's every human, then I still got to stay with no, because some people just will never have that in them. Some people are big boned. They're just not going to run a 4-minute mile, no matter how much they train.
You don't think that we're smart enough at this point to take a big boned body and figure out how to get that person to run a 4-minute mile?
I don't. I think this is a really big one for me. Mm-hmm. I think people think that we're way smarter than we actually are. Think about all the things going on in your daily life that you're like, why isn't this a thing? And it's not even close.
Example?
Well, if we could create, every human could create that and do that, why doesn't our Wi-Fi work all the time?
You'd have to ask the people that, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
You know? I mean, I'm trying to think of other little examples. Why haven't we thought of something that automatically ties your shoes for you so you don't have to bend over?
Sure. I think some of that stuff could. Well, you know, someone's listening right now out there that's thinking about that, and they're the smartest person on earth in that specific category, and they'll probably figure that out.
Do you think that every person, every functional human, obviously they can't have any sort of quote unquote defect that wouldn't allow for them to do it, but you think that it's possible?
I do think that it's very likely that anybody can accomplish a physical feat if we're talking sports. Mm-hmm. So in an athletic realm, I do think that you could take a 5-year-old boy or a 5-year-old girl, whatever sport it is, and I do think you could take a young athlete and you could mold them specifically all the way out to being an NHL player. But then inside of that, what your second question answer was with mindset, that you wouldn't have the control of their mindset or capacity to do it. But I do think that you could athletically or programming or build some sort of system where if you program them out for 15 years, I do think that you could get anybody to have that high level of a skill.
My brain's going. You think we'd get Jake Schmitz, strength coach Jake Schmitz at Master
Not
Dunk?
anymore.
But I'm saying when he was born.
So, but that's I'm saying like the skill aspect. So like shooting a hockey puck or like some sort of like that would be a body part. Like that would be body. That would be that I wouldn't agree with. But so with my final piece of this is because I've always believed, and I believe this, that like you can teach the principles to anybody. And so once somebody understands the principles of a skill, then it becomes the art of mastery over a long extended period of time. So it's like now all of a sudden is, how do you get a young athlete? I want to keep going on
4
this.
seconds.
Can I keep
Mindset's the answer. Thank you.
That's not
Final
fair.
answer, Steve.
That's not fair.
Harvey, final answer.
I forgot. Well, I think mindset. But I wanted to make a point on that. Mindset.
You're the boss.
Okay, Steve, have you seen Nike's self-lacing shoes?
Oh, well,
They
Steve.
recreated-
Clearly not.
they
And
recreated
thanks
them.
for having your last moment on the show, Noel.
Sorry.
Make me look like an idiot.
the mask
Is
back
that a
on
real
the
thing?
guy.
They made the Back to the Future shoes.
Oh, well, I'm an idiot. Don't listen.
Okay, second
Don't
question.
listen to me.
Sorry, I'm ruining your table here, man.
If you could teach everyone in the world one concept, what would that concept be?
Mindset.
One concept.
The clock hasn't started
teach
yet, so you can
everybody
think.
one concept.
No, and I'm going to actually reach to you here for a second. Can you give me an example when,
So let's
when you say concept?
empathy or patience, something like
Oh,
that.
boy.
We had this discussion a little while back, and I don't think that there is a specific answer. Like we were saying, like what is the number one thing that holds a relationship together? And it's like, how do you argue that one's better than the other? Like, how can you say, aren't they all just somewhat tied? Like, don't they all just work in like a system of togetherness? Like, where's he going? What's he doing?
He thinks that he's not, for everyone who's just listening, Nolan just got up and ran to get a cup of coffee. He's never been on camera before.
I've never seen, we're in the midst of a 5-minute debate here over changing the world over one concept. And the guy's going to walk over and change my,
You're just wasting time.
my consciousness.
I have an answer. My answer to this is persistent patience. And what I mean
So
by that,
you're using two. That's what been my point.
well, that is one. That is, what was the word you used again?
Concept.
That's a concept. It's not a word.
Oh, sure.
That's a concept. Persistent patience. So what I mean by that is, I think that in everything that I have done in my life that I've been successful at, I've been extremely patient at, but I've been extremely consistent in the work that I've done and the energy levels that I've brought to that work.
So now you're having, in a concept, you're having consistent energy with patience.
No, it's persistent. So like who I am, like my beliefs, what I'm trying to do, I'm extremely persistent in that. However, I don't think that I'm just going to be rewarded for my hard work or my energy or things like that. I have to be patient, allow for those things to become a reality. That takes time. Mm-hmm. So you have to combine your persistence with your patience. When those two things meet, if you can understand that concept, I think that nobody can stop you with whatever field you want to be successful in.
I tried to get you there. I
I
tried to
love
back
when
you
you
into
do
a
that.
corner, even though I deeply agree with that. Because because the thing that I would say of the persistence is that you actually enjoy the persistent part more than the actual reward part. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I use the analogy of if you win the Super Bowl, well, realistically, that's like one fun night. And then like a couple days later, the world stops caring. And then like only your specific town cares during the parade. And then the following day, everyone goes back to work and like you won the Super Bowl.
It's fleeting.
Yeah, it's fleeting. So it's crazy. Like, why would you work so hard your entire life? Think about someone who wins the Super Bowl once and they're 32 years old. They would work hard their whole life and have one day of fulfillment, which is massively patience, massively fulfilling because you understand the persistence that took to get there. But at the same time, comprehend that concept I like that word, concept. Comprehend the concept of it and then put that into your life that you have right now and ask yourself, what I'm doing today that requires persistence, is that worth my patience? Because I would rather be in this persistent pursuit of just some sort of fleeting reward that may come this time down the road, which again comes back to the concept of mastery.
Well, it's hard, right?
Yeah.
It's hard.
So
persistence is hard. Patience is hard.
Find what you love that's hard.
100. You have to.
Yes.
If you don't love what you're doing, you got no shot.
No shot at it.
And I don't think people give anyone enough credit, even kids. But kids all the way through adults, I think people are extremely transparent. I think that you can see when someone is genuine and when someone's full of it. And you can't like fake loving something. You can't fake grabbing onto something and saying, no matter what, I'm going to make this work. It doesn't matter. Like I'll die before I lose on this battle. And like, I mean, I've based my life around that, I guess. So obviously this one is a big one for me. I could probably, Nolan, you're always asking me for content. I could talk to you about this for 10 hours and love every second of it.
Well, you have 45 seconds.
45 seconds. So what I will say to everybody listening is that literally identifying your vision and where you want to go and where you're trying to get to will make you understand why you should be persistent and why you should keep going. And people will gravitate towards that. People will love that. And they'll lift you up. They won't knock you down. They'll support you. They'll move you forward. And that persistent patience can change your life.
I love it. And I even think I like how you said identifying your vision, and then people can feel the transparency of your love. And I think when you're in that position, people actually come to the aid of your vision and actually help you to create a narrowness in it, which is awesome to be a part of. That's why people cry and go, I have so much help along the way.
Yeah, like when coaches make the NCAA tournament for the first time, you see their wives just bawling.
Bawling, because people can feel that on you. Freaking A, right?
Right, that's right, Marty. Let's go now.
Yeah, quiet
Fire
down.
another one out
come
here.
Come on, Noel. It's about to be springtime here, boy.
We're getting into that summer mode.
I'm gonna get
the
vitamin
Mash
D.
Boys.
We're taking actual vitamin D from the sun.
Yeah,
nowadays,
let's go. That's where we get scary.
Yeah, come on, Noel. Come on, keep it going.
Are there limits to human creativity?
My immediate answer to that is no, because we've just proved that for thousands of years that creativity just continues to evolve.
Do you think creativity is an opinion?
Oh man, can you ask it that in a deeper sense?
I can try.
Yeah.
They call me the bull, so I don't really go to. I'm a very surface level human, but
Sure.
I guess what I mean by that is people will be like, "Oh, that's so creative," and then I'll hear people say that sometimes, and I'll go, "No, that wasn't creative at all." So like, you, Mart, being a guy who likes Marcus Aurelius and Socrates, I think that it's a great guy to ask, how do you define creativity? Not the actual definition.
Sure, because I was gonna say, well, then to your point, you would have to define creativity,
Nolan should look that up. What the actual definition is while you go.
which is essentially an art, right? So, so using the Socrates thing, what I think is incredibly interesting about like Stoicism, which is Stoic philosophy, what Steve is bringing up here, is like, how did those people thousands of years ago, how did they say things that are super relevant now? So like, think about what we say on this podcast or what we've written on Twitter. Like, think about what because now we just have access to carve that stuff. Or like those dudes were just walking around a town carving on a stone, and then like 100 people went, "Oh yeah, that's tight." And then they took that to like another 100 people, and then they just passed that through the generations of stories. And then once we had technology and internet and whatnot, we had these carvings still around, which is insane to think about. And now we post like tweets about it that get like millions of retweets, and people go, now that is smart, that is creative, right? So like anything that I think about with creativity where it's limitless is what we're saying right now. Someone might go, what if someone goes, man, remember back thousands of years ago what the bull used to say about the importance of persistent patience on a surface level?
And that would be tight.
That would be tight, And but what I'm saying by the creativity has no limits is somehow, whether or another, stoicism, which is basically just doing like the simplest things, like leaving yourself of desires of materialistic world and like those sort of things. Like, that's like simply the way I can define it. And how is it that we still find that creative and implement that into our, like Zuckerberg he doesn't have different types of clothes. And he's like the most.
Zucks?
Yeah, Zucks he just wears the same hoodie every day because he doesn't want to disrupt his choices because we only have so many choices in a day. So he just goes in, puts the hoodie on, gets to work, makes billions of dollars. And all of a sudden, like the Stoics believed in that. So how did we take a Stoic quote, put it in a stone, run that through the world for thousands of years, and then a guy creates Facebook?
Is that I love it.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to dive back into the cavemen for a second there. Before you go, Nolan.
I just love cavemen analogies.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love when you get going. You know, and to the listeners, I know you guys do too. For me, creativity is something that, and then I do want the actual definition. Creativity is something that when you see it, you go, you're impressed. Right, it's basically like being impressed. Like if you see something, you're like,
You're in awe.
oh wow! I would
Sure.
like basically when I see something as creative, I go, didn't even have it on my radar. Wasn't even something that I had
Wasn't
even
even
thought
there.
of. Like sometimes in meetings, people will bring stuff up, and I'll be like, oh wow, that's like a great idea. Like that's super creative. We should have been doing that a long time ago.
Yeah.
What's the actual definition?
The use of the imagination or original ideas, especially in the production of an artistic work.
So the use of the ideas, right? Because like the idea stays the same, but then the use of the idea is the creativity where you just keep building new things, which is why like we built the Coliseum and now there's skyscrapers. There's a Dallas Cowboys stadium. In 100 years, think about what a football stadium is going to look like.
It'll be ridiculous.
Ridiculous, but it's still just the Coliseum. It started with the Coliseum.
So do we think that can you say the question again, Nolan? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is a good one.
I forget.
Are there limits to
We
human
make the rules.
creativity?
Are there limits to human creativity?
So will there ever-
Go ahead. No, go ahead. No, I'm just not used to you talking this much.
Let me get another cup of coffee.
I'm just thinking, will there ever be, like, is there a limit to run out of ideas, like in the future, like of all the material in the world? Can you ever stop creating something new?
Love that. Because I think about that all the time. And you know what shows me that I think we will run out of ideas? Movies. When have you seen a movie preview lately that you go, oh, well, that looks great. I haven't seen anything with that concept before.
Well, why?
Never.
Then why do we
Sequels and
watch?
books.
Then why do we watch them?
Because we're bored. We don't have anything else to do.
We need entertainment.
But if creativity is defined what we had previously and what you had stated it,
Did
which
I define it differently?
Well, the way I took it and the way I thought was the implementation of ideas defines creativity. So like thinking, so everyone thinks of things, but creativity is when they show that to others or others can see that
Okay.
thought in their head be implemented into the real world. So like the implementation of your thoughts is what is creativity. So can we even think of, can we think of new things? I don't know. I hope that I'm alive when someone from another being or Earth or whatever shows up here.
Well, you can't.
That'd be crazy.
You can't think of it as.
Come on, dude. That would
We're
be
approaching
crazy.
6 minutes, but
Okay, well then the last piece of it,
That would be some creative
like
thinking.
Twitter or Instagram. Like Instagram, there's no way that Instagram will be around in 1,000 years. Like there won't, but it's still going to be a concept along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's where I would say there is no limit to it because in 1,000 years they're not going to still be going, how are my likes? Like that'll be over.
You're just
Someone
making
will
it
be-
better.
Yeah, something will be enhanced.
Napster to Spotify.
100%.
is hierarchy necessary for all successful human communities?
Did you come up with this question
We talked about this, so I kind of,
last night? Is this off last night?
this is off like the past couple weeks of conversation between all of us.
Okay.
We talked about the monkey thing too. but-
Yeah. Okay. I was.
Baboon.
So Harvey just got really happy.
I did get really happy. Well,
We
so-
should make sure to show that, how happy he got
We'll zoom
right
in.
there.
Yeah. Well, the baboon thing was interesting. So, and I sent this to the group. So I was reading a research article last night about how this doctor was studying baboons in Africa, and I'll tie it up really quick so we can get into the conversation of the question. But the doctor went to Africa, studies this tribe of baboons, and they had a hierarchy system, right? The alpha egotistical males ran the whole system. And then there was another tribe of these baboons, and they had the same system. And what was really weird was that every so often, and I don't remember the exact part of it, but every so often the baboon males would have to leave their tribe and go to another tribe. And in that next tribe, they would always mold to what that tribe's like hierarchy system was. So if you were like the alpha of tribe 1, you went to tribe 2, you had to establish alphaness. And if you didn't, then you weren't the top. But it was just like this cycle that went around. This guy did this for 33 years. So then, one year, okay, good, I'm doing good.
Get a life.
Then one year, this one tribe won. Okay, tribe 1 was at this. They were by this human resort that was built, and the human resort was getting rid of all their garbage and their dumps. And so these tribes started eating this food, and so they didn't have to learn their frontal cortexes and stuff. Didn't have to learn like these other tribes. They didn't have to hunt. They got lazy essentially, and so then they disrupted the movement of the tribe system. So then this other tribe goes over, their alphas go over, and they start eating from the dump. And then one time tuberculosis gets into the meat, and it kills off all these. Yeah, it kills off all these alpha male baboons.
They got the Burke.
Yeah, and then at the tribe that only the alphas left this tribe to go to the tribe at the resort, they still had males, but now these were the artists of the hierarchy chain. Is this making sense? Mm-hmm. So then what was happening was all this tribe over here died off, and the alphas of this other tribe died off. And so then when the system got back to normal and other baboon tribes came and met this tribe, there were no alphas, but there was no competition in that tribe to begin with. So these alpha baboons were coming into this newly formed tribe of like communication, harmony, joy. It was a 2-to-1 female to male ratio. So it was a female driven culture. And within 6-7 months or so, these alpha egotistical males from other tribes were completely non-aggressive. They weren't shown as depressive like activity, and they molded to this like peaceful new age tribe. So it was like really interesting conversation because it shows that your behavioral traits will mold to. It's essentially the theory of you're the average of the 5 people you're around. Well, like if you go into a tribe of positive environment and there's like not a need to like fight to the top of the chain, then like you will just mold to whatever the standard of that is. So it's pretty cool.
So what is based off
that
that
was hard
story?
to talk about in 2 minutes. Yeah.
Based off that story, can you ask the question again? Sorry, folks
so
at
was
home.
hierarchy necessary for a successful community?
What's your answer?
You need a hierarchy.
So I still say yes, but I think that when we hear hierarchy, we think asshole at top, bottom feeders at bottom. I think that's what's programmed in our brain. So then the story that I just shared, it essentially says there's still a hierarchy. Like there's still like older experienced baboons, right? So like there's still an older experience. You need wisdom. Like if we do know anything about the cortex, it like finishes last. So that's why like adolescents like don't know how to make decisions. So like imagine if we didn't have a hierarchy of coaches or hierarchy of teachers, that like we would just have these dumb adolescents that just go through life making terrible decisions and never figure out what's a good value system. So like you need role models and mentorship, and I think everybody should have that, right? But then the hierarchy have to be the CEO who has all this stuff and he's an asshole to everybody? Like that would prove the point of why most people hate their jobs statistically, because they have asshole hierarchy.
Well said, Mart.
Does that make sense?
100%. I couldn't agree more. It's the difference between having a boss and having a leader.
I blacked out. Sorry, what happened?
That's
just hard to get in. I was trying to get it in.
You did great. You got 4.5. So anyone who's out there who is a part of a system, understand that hierarchy is needed. It 100% is needed. Anyone who wants to have a conversation with me that doesn't think it does, I will disagree with you till the end of time.
Yeah, you need a mentor.
However, within that, don't be a boss. Be a leader. There needs to be someone who, controls the chaos. Just a controller. Just control the chaos. Just make sure that everyone is staying on the same team, moving this thing forward. There has to be some sort of hierarchy to allow to do that. However, that doesn't mean that person is sitting on a throne and people are carrying them.
Yeah.
It means they're all pulling the dog sled together.
Think like the baboons in Tribe 2. There it is. Is there other questions?
No, that was 4. Good job.
We only do 4 now. Oh, and we're done. I was looking for my Instagram post, get my full face moment there, and I'll just do it earlier next week.
You guys got the best jawline in the game. He's going to have to gain some experience and get it out there earlier. Next week, we'll see if he does it. Have a good weekend.
Cheers.